Hey everyone, it's Delana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we talk about everything from sex, politics, scandals. We talk about everything underneath the sun. So today I really want to dive into what might be the biggest political cover-up of our time, and that's President Biden's cognitive decline and how a Democratic Party and the mainstream media have been hiding it from the American people. Let's be real. This is not really a one-sided issue. It is very bipartisan, and it's just about how the media is not being honest with the American people right now and the true mental state of the person that's running this country. The book that recently came out is by Jake Tapper. It's here. There it is. There. It's called Original Sins, President Biden's Decline in Its Cover-Up, and Its Disastrous Choice to Run Again, detailing the shocking events of Biden's cognitive issues in the coordinated effort to hide them. And this is written by Jake Tapper and Axios reporter Alex Thompson. And they both came up with this book, which I find very surprising because both of them were really trying to cover this topic for a very long time, and as well as the mainstream media. CNN has been one of the biggest proponents of the arm of the Democratic Party and just following the cover-up of the Biden's decline over years. So it's been kind of ironic that Jake Tapper is the one that is writing this book. They're both not conservative authors, and they don't really have an axe to grind with anything. But it's just funny how they decided to use this book as, kind of coming to light of what's kind of going on. Some of the things that he mentions in the book is that the Democratic Party had talked about Biden using a wheelchair because he was really having, if you saw any of those kind of clips of him walking out, didn't know where to walk off stage, tripping, going up the stairs, the back behind the scenes, the Democrats were talking about having him use a wheelchair, but they just knew that they couldn't sell it to the American people. And they talked about, well, let's just keep him upright till after the election, and then they can put him in a wheelchair. And then once they win the election, then they can kind of admit to the cognitive decline, but they would already be in power, and Kamala Harris could just take it over. One of the things that Biden recently said on I think he was on The View, he said one of the reasons that they didn't win is because the American people couldn't accept a Black woman to be president, which I think is just a bunch of bullshit. I think she just wasn't a smart person. I don't think she is a likable person. I don't think she's she's not that she's not smart, but she was just not politically savvy. I felt like she could never answer any question clearly, which made it very frustrating. If someone asked me what she thought, I have no idea what she thought. The word salads were just beyond me. Anyway, so I really don't think that was the problem. I think what should have happened with the Democratic Party is that they should have had voted in somebody. And it's funny because I think about it, because I think if they would have went to kind of voting in someone in their primary, I think it probably would have been Gavin Newsom. But in hindsight, now I think, thank God it wasn't Gavin Newsom with the disasters that's been happening over in California, and his lack of leadership there. I don't think he's ever going to have a chance to be president. I always thought he was a very well-spoken, smart guy, but after the fires and everything in California, I think that's all been gone to the wayside. CNN and a lot of the mainstream media has gone downhill because of their lack of transparency. I think they've just continuously overrun what we can see. I think it's the epitome of gaslighting. It's like we can all see what's going on, but they just wanted us to believe otherwise, which is lying. When I'm not sure if it talks about this directly in his book, but when George Clooney, I heard this from another source, that when George Clooney had that fundraiser for him, he couldn't even recognize who he was. So he was saying, "Hi, nice to meet you, nice to meet you." And he went up and said the exact same thing to George Clooney, didn't address him by name. And someone said, "Well, this is George." He's like, "Oh, hi, George. Nice to meet you." And this is George Clooney, who's created this huge fundraiser for him. I think once George Clooney saw that, I think, how could anybody have not seen it who's somewhat close to him, especially his wife, who's apparently a doctor. I just can't imagine that they didn't realize that he had this cognitive decline. If anybody has had anybody that in their family or been close to someone who has Alzheimer's or dementia, you see the signs. They're so apparent. And if you haven't, sometimes they're not as apparent. When my dad has dementia, and it took us a while to kind of catch on to see that that's what it was, but you definitely see a cognitive decline. It just doesn't come out of nowhere. And Biden was showing signs of this cognitive decline back in like 2020. So that's 5 years of gone. And over the last 4 years, a lot of the Americans, I'm a Canadian, so I'm not American. I did not vote in the election, but the Americans talk about the 25th Amendment. And I think that's gone to the wayside, because if the Democrats weren't clear with the American people about his cognitive decline, I also believe that the Democrats knew that they could not put Kamala Harris in power. So even if they exercised the 25th Amendment and made her the president, the vice president moves up, I really truly don't think that, I think it would have been absolutely disastrous. When I think back on the election, I think, oh my God, could like Kamala Harris really kind of go toe to toe with Putin and all those big leaders? There's no way that she could get done what Trump is doing now, be it positive or negative. That's debatable. But creating peace in the Middle East and all the negotiating and the deals that have been going down with Trump, there's no way Kamala Harris could have had any of that cognitive ability to create such situations or agreements. I really just don't think that the Democrats could risk kind of exercising that 25th Amendment, but it's the lying. In Canada, CNN is probably their biggest news source, and my mom thinks what they say is like 100% is the holy grail. CNN never lies, and I don't. It's crazy that they think that. It's just they don't see it as a political. It's a political avenue, and just the same as Fox. I'm not, and she's like, well, look at Fox. I'm like, I'm debating back and forth what each is or what side that they're on, but yeah, Fox is very right-hand leaning. CNN, pretty much all the rest of them are very left-wing leaning. So, just to deny that one is not and the other is ridiculous. But I think CNN has just gone down the tubes. I think they put their money behind the wrong horse, and that, them trying to do the cover-up, participating in the cover-up of Biden, I don't think did them well. I think giving Kamala Harris softball interviews was not helpful. One of the best interviews that I ever saw with Kamala Harris is when she went on Fox and did that interview, because it seemed like she was a little feisty. I had a little bit more respect for what she had to say. If it was me and I was going to go into an election, the first thing I would do is go into the lion's den. I would jump right in and say, hey, this is what I believe in. This is what's been going on in the country so far, and this is wrong, and this is the way it should be done. I'm ready to jump right in if I have such a strong belief in what I want to do, and kind of my goal for the future of the country. I would be jumping right in to explain it bit by bit and how I'm going to accomplish that. I find that Harris, every single interview that she did was just word salad. At the end of it, I'm somewhat of an intelligent person, that I'm like, I really have no idea where she stands on that issue. I really have no idea, like, how she's going to bring down the cost of foods. I have no idea. I had no idea. And even with Trump, a lot of things were like, I don't know, but we're going to make it work, like the healthcare. I just trusted more into his, I guess, non-answer as we're going to figure it out. I would trust more than that than I would of someone that can't explain anything. So anyways, guys, I'm just really interested to hear what your point of view is and your comments about Biden, the cover-up. Like I said, this is one of the biggest cover-ups of probably American history. I also think that one of the bigger cover-ups too is the Hunter Biden laptop. Like, that's just another layer, kind of keeping everything from the people. I really think that the election in 2020 was so close that I think if people would have known about the Hunter Biden laptop and all these other kind of underground negotiations and alliances going on, I think it might have swayed the election somewhat because it was so close. But not telling people or burying the Hunter Biden laptop was just bullshit. That is just, and to create the Russian collusion over here. And again, that's part of the mainstream media. Rachel Maddow just touted Russian collusion, all this Russia, which was complete bullshit, complete smokescreen. And no one wants to talk about that. And if we talk about Russia and that smokescreen, hopefully no one's going to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop, which is essentially what happened. They just shoved that underneath, the FBI knew about it. There were so many people involved in that and hiding that. Between Biden's laptop, his cognitive decline, the mainstream media, just hiding all this information, it's just, to me, it's bullshit. And on top of that, to have Kamala Harris be your kind of horse and your leading horse, not good. I'm all for the smartest person for the job. That's what's happened in Canada. I love Poilievre. I think he's a really great guy. I really wish Canada would have voted more conservatively. However, Mark Carney, love him or hate him, I do think he's an intelligent person. He has a financial background, and I think that he's going to probably make some good decisions for the country, where I wouldn't put Kamala Harris in that category. Thank God that she didn't win. That's all I gotta say. Regardless if you like positive or negative, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, I just don't think she was of all the Democrats in the entire United States, you're going to tell me that she's the absolute smartest. She's the one you're going to put up as your poster child for the Democratic Party. Yeah, I just think that there's so many smart, educated people out there on the left-hand side in the Democratic Party that probably could have done much better. I just really do. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Please like, subscribe, share. Very interested in your thoughts. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.